Shalom, Akayam and Akawatayam. I want to do another video about this video about the men and their seed coming from out of them, or the men having a discharge. I did the video on childbirth and a woman's period, uncleanliness. If any by any means, someone else put the laws about the dietary laws up, because we have clean foods and unclean foods. Somebody make a video about it. The group, I think it's the 144,000 Noble Kings or King Noble, has like 16,000 members in it. You know, post videos in there. 16,000 people may see your video. Who knows? The Most High know what you're doing. But right now I wanna talk about when seed comes from a man. The laws on the purification things you have to do during this situation. Leviticus chapter 15. I'm reading out of this, the English Standard Version Study Bible. It says this. Verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean." The discharge is unclean. And if it's coming out, it touches you. Yeah, I understand. The discharge, that what cometh out of a man defiles him. The discharge itself is unclean, and it just defiled you for being unclean when it came out of you and it was touching you. So it says you are unclean if you have a discharge. You are unclean. It says this, verse 3. And this is the law of his uncleanness for a discharge. Whether his body runs with his discharge or his body is blocked up by his discharge, it is his uncleanness. Uncleanness. Blocked up could be what would they call it? Not diarrhea, because that's when it comes out. Constipation. Constipation. Blocking them up. Stop. Sit down somewhere. All that noise for no reason. Hey! Sit down. Both of y'all. Alright. It says, every bed, verse 4, every bed on which the one with the discharge lies shall be unclean, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And anyone who touches his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. So that means this man got this discharge or this congestion. Everything he sit on, lay on is unclean. You're not supposed to touch it, or you're going to catch it's going to be as if you had his same defilement. And you're going to be unclean until the evening. But you got to wash your clothes and wash yourself in water. And it says, and whoever sits on anything on which the one with the discharge has sat shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches the body of the one with the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. So if you touch anything he touched, or you touch him, you got to wash your clothes and bathe yourself, and you're going to be unclean until the evening. But you cannot eat until you bathe yourself from this uncleanness. Verse 9. Hold on. Verse 8. Excuse me. Verse 8. And if the one with the discharge spits on someone who is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. If this man spit on you, then you gotta wash. You gotta go take a bath, and you gotta wash your clothes. You're gonna be unclean until the evening. He just defiled you. And any saddle, verse 9. And any saddle on which the one with the discharge rides shall be unclean. And whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until the evening. And whoever carries such things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. So if this man is unclean and you carrying his stuff for him, you unclean too. You're going to have to wash and wash your clothes, and you're going to be clean after the evening. It says, verse 11. Anyone whom the one with the discharge touches without having rinsed his hands in water shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until evening. So I guess the man with the discharge can wash his hands and touch you. But he cannot touch you without washed hands, or else you're going to catch this uncleanliness. So he got to wash his hands before he touch you, or wash your hands after the bathroom. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's almost, people could be walking around just defiling you up. People could just be walking around touching you, defiling you up, shaking people's hands, eating stuff out of people, throw their hands in it. And people can just be defiling you up. That's why it says in Proverbs, make your cisterns your own. Use your own cisterns. Your own wells. Let's go. Verse 12. And in earth and in earthenware vessel, a vessel of the earth, pottery, that one with the discard touches shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. So if you got some pottery and he touches, you got to break it. You can't use it anymore. And if it's some wood, like you've got a wooden plate or something like that, you can wash it in water and you can use it again. Verse 13. And when the one with a discharge is cleansed of his discharge, then he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his body in fresh water, and shall be clean. So after he gets cleansed, he has to wait 7 days, and then wash, and then he's completely clean. Then he's completely clean. Now I believe the man, if some seed goes from him, is unclean until evening, unless his discharge lasts longer than a day. So it's as long as your discharge lasts. As long as your discharge lasts, even if it's like one time today, one time tomorrow, you're unclean for 2 days. As long as your discharge lasts, you are unclean and you'll have to wash yourself. And then 7 days after your uncleanness, you have to wash again. Then you're going to be completely clean. So it's like you got to wash twice for this one thing. Verse 14. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons and come before the Lord to the entrance of the tent of meeting and give them to the priest. And the priest shall use them, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord for his discharge. So that was like if someone catch gonorrhea or chlamydia or something, and it's a discharge from their penis. That as long as you got that discharge, you would be unclean. You would be unclean. You have to wash your hands before you touch someone. Everything you sit in would be unclean. Everything you lay on would be unclean. I'm thinking the sperm or the semen has a different rule. And I'm about to read that now. This is about the rule of a man's sperm coming out of him. Verse 16. I believe this is where it begins. If a man has an emission of semen, he shall bathe his whole body in water and be unclean until the evening. I mean, you got to wash your whole body in water, and you're going to be unclean for a day, for that day that you do it. And every garment and every skin on which the semen comes shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening. If a man lies with a woman and has an emission of semen, maybe. If a man lies with a woman and has an emission of semen, this is when a man has sex with a woman. And he busts a nut, as people would call it nowadays, emission of semen. both of them shall bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening. So he just made his woman unclean by putting semen in her. Like it says, the discharge is the defilement. This is the defilement. Not to say that the child is the defilement, but it's coming out of you. So it's like a defilement. It's like when spit on you. In a sense, they just defiled you. In a sense, I can't remember a law that talks about spitting being defilement. If a clean person spit on you, is he now defiled for spitting? Then every time we would spit, it would be defilement. I really don't even know of a law that says when you use the bathroom that you be unclean, like these people are unclean for the emission of semen and for periods and for childbirth and for leprosy, for eating unclean animals. It doesn't. I haven't really read a law about using the bathroom, except when they were in the camp in the wilderness, they didn't use the bathroom within their house. Like, we have bathrooms in our house. Is this right? Are we supposed to have bathrooms in our house? Is the bathroom supposed to be outside somewhere? Are we supposed to have bathrooms in our house where we sleep and we dwell? Is not the bathroom supposed to be outside of the house? I don't know, man. The plumbing, the plumbing system. They make money off of it and they feed us our own stuff back. They say they clean it, but it's going through the same pipes. They're getting dirty by going through the pipe. They getting dirty by going through the pipe. They might clean it over there, but it's coming through this pipe still, so it's getting dirty. Regardless, even if they say, "Oh yeah, they pipeline clean," did the Most High say that? But yeah, this was the laws on a man having a discharge like gonorrhea or constipation, um, and like stuff like chlamydia. You just have stuff hanging from your stuff, just coming out of your stuff. Like a sickness, not really taking a piss, having a sickness. And the emission of semen. Shalom, Akiyam, and Akawatayam.